Hey everyone, Mitchell here from Hockey Winnipeg Referee Development, the Hockey Referee Resource, and today we are going to talk about impact penalties. So when we're talking about any referee skill, we're talking about the skills on this pyramid. Positioning at the bottom, procedures in the middle, game management at the top, and then professional skills around that pyramid. Today we're talking about impact penalties, which naturally falls into the area of game management. So when we're talking about impact penalties, really every time that you call a penalty, you want to answer two questions. The first question is, can the guilty player do something different next time in order to avoid getting this penalty? The second question is, does this penalty set a clear example for the entire arena about what is and is not allowed in this game? So when we think about those two questions, we can apply them to different situations. For example, let's say that a player has a breakaway, such as in this video here, and that player is tripped up by a defensive player chasing him down, and the defensive player does not get the puck first. Let's watch the video.
Down. And another chance by Holmstrom. Down to the ice he goes. What's the call? Nothing.
All right, Nicholas Jomerson there. Holmstrom never gets an opportunity. Never got the puck off with his stick as he dove there. And I think the referee missed the penalty there for sure.
So, does that meet the criteria for our two questions? The first question is, can the guilty player change something next time? And the answer in this case would be yes. Next time the player needs to make sure that they get the puck first, or else not try to get their stick in to make a play. The second question is, does the arena learn what is and isn't allowed in this situation? And again, the answer is yes. The play was clearly on the puck carrier. The whole arena was focused on that specific play, and it was quite clear that the player tripped the other player and didn't get the puck. Now, in this specific example, the referee did not see it from the angle that he needed to, and he did not call a penalty, so it would be considered a missed call. So that's example number one. Let's take a look at example number two. And this one has to do with referee harassment. So now we have a coach who is yelling quite loudly. I'm going to push play on the video in a moment here. And the questions are, once again, if we call a penalty here, can the coach learn something in the future in order to avoid getting a penalty? And then the second question, can the arena understand what is allowed and is not allowed in the given game based on the penalty that you called? So the answers to those questions are, number one, yes, the coach can change something next time. He can choose not to yell at the referees. Does the arena understand what the penalty is for? Is the arena going to come away with an idea of what's allowed and isn't allowed in this given situation? Absolutely. Because the coach was being loud enough for the entire arena here, there's no question that the arena will understand why a coach is receiving a penalty for yelling at the referees. So how about some yes-no examples? Because those first two were both yes examples. Obviously, if you answer no to both of those questions, then you're not going to call a penalty. But sometimes what we'll end up with is some type of a gray area where we have one question being yes and one question being no. So let's take a look at this first example. The coach is quietly calling one of the officials' names, but they're being quiet enough that the whole arena cannot hear them. So is this an impact penalty? Yes to the first question, because the coach, if he is penalized, then he can avoid this in the future by not calling the official names. How about no? For the second question, the whole arena doesn't know what's going on because the coach is being very quiet. So therefore we have a yes-no situation. So when we're in a yes-no situation, we have to start to ask ourselves, based on the rest of the game, does this penalty need to be called? So in this case, if we have a coach calling a referee or a linesperson or an official names and directly being aggressive towards them, then you're probably going to assess some type of a penalty, even though you have a yes-no answer pattern for those two main questions. Here's the next example. A6 violently falls into the boards due to contact with B6, but there's no fault of B6 in the play. So, can the player change something next time? Well, based on that description, no. B6 is not going to be able to change anything next time because they didn't do anything wrong. However, if it's a violent fall into the boards, the whole arena is going to see it as being very violent, right? It looks dangerous falling into the boards. So now you're in a situation where you have, no, the player can't change anything, but yes, the entire arena could learn something from this if there's a penalty called. And now you have to start thinking about how's the rest of the game went. Have we had a lot of rough play around the boards, right? Do I need to make an impact to say, smarten up and figure out how to function around the boards in a way that doesn't put your opponents at risk? So again, we have a yes-no situation, or in this case, a no-yes, and we're going to have to make a judgment based on how the rest of the game is proceeding and what we need in that moment, and whether that would be an impact penalty or not. Third example happens behind the play. Dark 6 kicks light 7 far behind the play, right against the boards, so that the arena cannot see, but one of the officials sees the kick happen. So, first question, can the player who's guilty make a change in the future? Absolutely yes. Don't kick your opponents. Does the arena see it? Does the arena get something major out of the situation if they see a penalty called? No, because the plays went up the ice, it's behind the play. Most of the arena is focused on the puck play at that moment that's way up in the other end. So we have now a yes-no situation where we have to make a judgment on what can be called and can't be called to make it an impact penalty. In this case, we know that using your skate as a weapon is a very severe decision that a player can make, and you're going to make that call because we have to get players not to kick each other with knives on the bottom of their feet. So we're going to make a call, and it's going to be really important at this point that you clearly communicate with the captains why the player is being assessed the penalty that they're being assessed, and if there's a kick behind the play, so that they can take that information back to their benches and everyone knows what it is, so the arena becomes more aware of why the penalty was called, and then you're going to have a stronger impact penalty. So, I'll leave you with this. Impact penalties give you an idea of what it is that you want to call and not to call, but they still don't take the subjectivity out of it. So as it is that you're applying different penalties to the games that you're officiating, try to reflect on your penalty calls based on those two questions. Can the player change something in the future, and does this set a clear example for the arena of what is and isn't called? Now, of course, in the middle of the game, you're not going to be able to ask these questions, so it has to become very quick and natural to make these questions go through your mind. However, they're questions that will help you reflect on the penalties that you do and do not call.